So, update 2.25. This is the patch notes for the latest update on January 29th. Let's dive straight into it. The 2.25 update focuses on adjustments to the multiplayer metagame following up on the release of Scarlet Bison in November. The primary goal of this patch is to clean up outstanding areas of concern in multiplayer and addressing several existing balance issues while also fine-tuning certain units and abilities. This update also includes some bug fixes and general improvements. Right, multiplayer balance changes. General changes, fixed gun and casemate units. This is a quality of life improvement allowing the class of unit to display their limited range and arc. Ooh. Casemates will now display their arc when click and drag orders are issued. Thank God. This is such a thing I've been wanting for ages. So basically, it's become like an anti-tank gun. You know, with it, we click and drag an anti-tank gun around, it'll have that kind of arc. And I feel like this was in Co 1, right? So I'm so glad. Oh, we're definitely gonna test this. I'm so glad they've added this. This is nice. Stug 3D support advance, Martyrs, sight main gun, immobilizer support, and hold down always show the arc of fixed guns when the unit is selected. Fantastic. Okay, that's a really good quality of life change. It makes it much easier, especially with something like Wehrmacht, who've got a lot of fixed casemate units. That makes it much easier. Breach. Well, this is a big one. I want to see if they change breach. This change prevents players from constantly chain breaching buildings if the enemy bails out before the breach occurs. Breach now goes on recharge when the building is taken, but no damage has occurred to the enemy exiting. That's great. I'm so glad, you know, this is something that I kind of wanted to talk about in my patch wish list, but I kind of needed 2 players. I needed somebody else to help me demonstrate this issue, and I didn't have anybody at the time that I made the video, so I made the video like at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But this was an issue that was on my mind, and I'm glad they fixed it, because it did seem, especially for a rifleman, so this is generally going to be a nerf to rifles more than anything, because you always see rifles get early grenade tech, and they would always be flushing units out of buildings, and then as soon as you jump into another building after being flushed out from a building from a rifle. When the rifles would follow you, they would jump out and then flush you out again immediately afterwards, so you could never keep building control. So this is a good nerf to breach. I'm glad that they've changed that. Automatic rifles and light machine guns. Bars, Johnsons, Bredders, Brens, MG34s, 42s, and Vickers. We are partially removing the bonuses certain special weapons had against heavy and garrison cover to increase the value of cover against upgraded squads. Damage penalty against heavy cover and garrisons increased. Okay. Penalty as well increased. Accuracy penalty increased as well. So this will mean, let's say if you've got a rifleman squad fighting an MG42, or you've got a section, or you've got a Gren fighting up against a Vickers in a building, they'll have a better time at having that kind of engagement against them, you know. So that's good. Because it did feel like machine guns were doing pretty damn good against units that were in buildings, when the building should have provided maybe a bit more cover. So that's an interesting change. That wasn't on my radar really, but it's a nice change. Casualty recovery. Triage, sensor, and medical bunkers. Casualty recovery could be too efficient over the course of the game and synergizes with units that have high reinforcement costs. We are changing the system so casualties recovered now give a flat amount of manpower, which is easier to understand and makes the value of the triage more consistent depending on what infantry units are fielded. Each casualty recovered now grants a flat 25 manpower rather than a casualty charge. A kicker will be now displayed once a casualty is dropped off, indicating the manpower is received. I love that change, because then it helps with readability. You know that you're actually getting some, you know that you're getting a benefit from your medical tent, the triage center, medical bunkers. This is all of it, right? So this is going to be the Brits, the Americans healing bunkers, the Wehrmacht med bunker. And this is interesting as well, because it's a 25 manpower rate. So this will punish players that go for more elite infantry squads, right? Because elite infantry squads cost more to reinforce. And previously, with the way it worked, is if they were the ones that came back, first, and there was a casualty charge ready, they would get that free reinforcement. You'd save yourself quite a bit of manpower, right? Now it's just going to be 25 across the board, so it kind of, it will hurt players that go from more elite infantry squads, basically, this change, which is interesting. So yeah, if if we see loads of people make Lancers, or you see a lot of people go for SSF, Airborne Squads, STOS, those more expensive units, then they won't be benefiting as much now. So they don't get a free pass kind of thing. If they play badly, they could just get a free casualty replenishment. So that's interesting. Heavy machine gun teams. So the M1919, M2 HB 50 cal Vickers, MG34 and M42. So they're having their setup time increased, making them less effective at attack moving or redeploying to face flanking units. In return, we've increased their long-range damage per second to make these units more useful on maps with sufficient heavy cover, and veteran HMGs will be even better at stopping infantry assaults through improved suppression. So it's an extra half a second now, which is very significant. Their accuracy has been increased by 15%. Their bonus of vet 2 is now an extra 10%. But they also take a little bit longer to vet up. What do we think about this? I feel like in the early game, it's going to make going MGs harder. Like later on, it's going to make more sense. The MGs are going to do better if you keep them alive. But early game, with how prevalent like the rifle spam is, it's going to make it harder, especially for Wehrmacht players who generally rely on a machine gun early game to do well. Yeah. What do we think, guys? What's everyone's? Do we like this change? We don't like this change? I don't know. We'll have to see, but I feel like this might be. I don't know. I like the fact that late game it's going to make it easier to do damage against blobbers because there'll be, if you manage to keep your MG alive, gets to vet 2, it'll be able to do more suppression quicker. It'll be able to do more damage at range as well. So the MGs will punish blobbers later on, but early game they're going to be struggling because of that extra setup time. So we'll see. We will see. Light artillery, pack howitzers, LEIGs, and the heavy mortar. A recent change caused certain light artillery units to be ineffective on maps as the projectile would always collide with low obstacles. Furthermore, these units took too long to gain veterancy as they generally caused health damage rather than kills. We are reverting the change to the projectile of these units, allowing them to properly arc over tall obstacles while keeping the speed and a little bit higher than they were previously. Far area of effect damage has also been increased to improve performance on non-direct hits. Okay, so a nice buff to all of these kind of light artillery units, which is cool. Definitely notice the LAIG hitting buildings more often. So this will make these units much better in urban environments because they will now shoot over the top of these buildings. So that's great. Projectile speed's a little bit faster as well. And reduce the veterancy as well, to move it up a bit quicker, and slightly bit more damage. So yeah, nice buff to these units. Okay. Mortars. So all different types of mortars. Mortars scaling was inconsistent, having veterancy requirements for a unit that primarily deals health damage, and their bonuses did not directly improve their combat performance due to their low scatter. To address these issues, we reduced the veterancy requirements of mortars and have made changes to their bonus to improve their DPS damage at higher levels. Okay, so infantry mortars are cheaper, they've out faster. So does the half track. Shell time on target increased. Okay, very slightly. Scatter bonus of vet 2, a little bit more damage. And they get rather than the health boost, they get an increase of rate of fire. Okay. This doesn't seem it affects the mortar pit from the Americans, though. It's just the handheld mortars. Yeah, the mobile mortars and the mortar half track. Interesting. Okay. Suppression is having its reload and scatter penalties increased to make weapons such as grenade launchers and bazookas less effective. Hell yes. Scatter penalty. This was something I saw on Typebro's video as well. He mentioned this. Scatter penalty increased from 33 to 125%. Huge. And the reload has gone up by a massive 50% there. This is going to be so good, right? Against the A-team call-in that I like to call from Advanced Infantry. The Ranger Commander, they can call in like the two rifles and a bunch of bazooka squads. This is going to make that, you'll be able to suppress those guys now and effectively do damage with your vehicles because the bazookas are not going to be firing as frequently and they're going to be missing a lot more. So this is going to be buffing up machine guns. The MG42. So we saw the buffs that we're getting with the MGs over here. They're going to be buffed up again by the suppression. These suppression changes. That's good. And it's also grenade launchers as well. So this is going to be nerfing Partisans. This is going to be nerfing the Luftwaffe grenade grenade launcher strategy as well that we've been seeing a lot of lately. So this is really good. Mobile heavy anti-tank guns. 17 pounders, the M5 3-inch and the 88, the Mobile 88 from DAK. Their fuel cost has gone up by 10. I don't disagree with that. I think all those vehicles all those anti-tank guns are incredibly strong, and I've always thought 40 fuel was quite cheap for how effective and powerful they are. So I agree with that change. I think that is a fair change. Salvage structure, fighting positions, bow 4s, 2cm flaky places, hardpoints. Ability is interrupted if the building takes damage while saving. Okay, so you can't salvage structure if it's under fire. Territory captured experience. We are equalizing capture point veterancy to lower the amount gained for capturing neutral territory, but increase the rewards for decapturing. So they've changed the 25 for capture experience that you would be getting normally has gone to the decap instead. This is interesting. I think this will buff up things like scout squads, which I've always mentioned that I feel like for Americans have a hard time gaining veterancy later on in the game, right? So I actually think this is a good idea because you'll be more likely to be able to get off decaps than managing to get the full capture. So this is going to help scouts. If you have to rebuild a scout later on in the game, it'll make it easier for them to vet up faster, to get that important all vet one, so they can then move around cloaked and stuff. So this is a good change. I like it. Observation posts, supply truck lockdown. Early manpower from caches could be too efficient in larger modes where they would benefit multiple players and pay off quickly. To offset the recent changes, we are lowering the amount of manpower generated by caches. So it's now, rather than 20 manpower per minute, it's going down to 50 manpower a minute. Doesn't look like they've changed the cost of the caches either to reflect this. So it's just a general nerf to manpower caches. Interesting. It's not a huge amount. It has gone down by 25% though. Okay. All handheld anti-tank Rangers are receiving light additional adjustment by lowering their moving performance of handheld anti-tank weapons and increasing their moving scatter to weaken these weapons at long range. Okay. Alright, so Rangers are going to be... I mean, it says all handheld anti-tank, but specifically it mentions Rangers, but I guess everybody that I guess is going to be chasing, like if you've got Bazooka Squad... I mean, Rangers are one of the only ones that can actually move and shoot with their bazookas on the go, right? I don't think... Can paratroopers shoot their bazookas while moving? I think, is it only range? I think it might just be Rangers there, actually, but that's interesting. I think that's a good change, because Rangers, yeah, I mean, you get 6 suits on them, and they just, they wouldn't even be stationary to get that off, so it makes sense. It rewards players for microing better by keeping them still for a moment to get all the bazookas off, and then they can keep chasing, rather than they just move forward and get free kills, basically. Right. Infantry section could shoot rifles on the move. That's a good point, Vac. Yeah, I mean, I was just in my mind just thinking about bazookas, but we will. Yeah, let's look at lancers, Polish lancers, as well as infantry sections, and see if they shoot while moving, because this will be nerfing them as well. Infantry prioritized vehicle bazooka teams, Panzerjägers. They will start with prioritized vehicles when they come out, and Jaeger squads with Panzerschreck start on prioritized vehicles as well. That's great. Good. Anti-tank rifle upgrades grants a squad who have these upgrades prioritize the vehicle ability. Nice. So they now have prioritized vehicle ability if they can get do have the AT rifles and things like that. So that's sweet as well. Good, because you want to save those AT rifle shots to shoot the vehicle rather than shoot an infantry squad or whatever and waste the volley fire. So that's a good change. Right, now on to faction specific changes. We're now on to US. Advanced logistics. We are slightly changing all the manpower reduction bonuses in the game to tone down some of their power. No longer grant experience for reinforced squads. This is from Advanced Logistics. This is Infantry Support Center, right? And now the manpower reduction has gone down by 5% as well. So this is a big nerf to Infantry Support Center players, I would say. That's good, because it might, make it so rifles don't seem to vet up and go, and are so prevalent in the game. So that's a nerf to just your standard rifle build, which is kind of good. Bazookas also seem to have their ready aim time increase as well. Bazookas are having the ready aim time increase to allow vehicles slightly more time to back away when engaging bazookas at range. Compared to all other handheld AT in game, the bazooka is the most difficult to avoid due to its lower values. So that is a significant change. So that is now half a second, if that's right. They will take an additional half a second to be able to ready aim before they can shoot. Very significant. So that is a nerf to bazookas. Now, bazooka squads are already incredibly squishy. And because they're squishy, I feel like they might need a little bit of a buff compared to everybody else. I mean, they do have the extra range when stationary. But still, this is going to make it so that, yeah, you can kite easier now as an Axis player against bazookas. It is a very big nerf to them. You can see people like with 8 rads, 259s, the flat feeling. They'll just be able to like get in there, do a little bit of damage instantly, and then back away straight away, you know, and constantly keep the bazooka squads trying to chase and not ever firing, which could be quite nice. The M1918 Browning automatic rifles, the bars. So we want to allow the US forces to have an option for dedicated infantry play, where they have a couple of minutes to have a major advantage in infantry combat before the first light vehicle arrives. The current timing, however, was too potent. To tackle this issue, the bar is having its research time increased to give opponents the time to prepare against a timing attack. So it's 30 seconds longer to research bars now. Okay, I think that's probably a good idea. Bars did feel like they were, you know, they are pretty strong. They come on, and especially in 1v1s and things like that, the timing of them can be devastating. And you can potentially maybe get a wipe or two if you do it well early game with the popping of that. So that's it. Yeah, I think that's good. So it will mean that Axis players have an extra 30 seconds to prepare, maybe get another unit on the field potentially to be able to deal with it. We'll see. Right then, Riflemen, pour it on them. Pour It On Them had a hitter bonus that allowed the Rifleman squad to perform better against heavy cover than intended. Oh, I didn't know that. We are removing this bonus as the ability already grants increased DPS and suppression. Okay, so they got their penalty back. Right, okay. To be honest, I normally always just use sprint on my rifles, but yeah, sometimes I might put one rifle and pour it on them for that ability. Okay, so Mortar Pit. The Mortar Pit is an impactful defense, able to engage enemies at long range for fairly low costs, like AT bunkers. Because of these traits, we are giving the structure a slight population cost and upkeep. Now it takes up 2 population and 1 manpower upkeep per population. So it's now, 2. So it's two manpower per minute that you'll have less as an American player if you start building mortar pits. Beforehand, we would see a lot of people, if they pick heavy weapons battle group, they would be spamming these mortar pits everywhere without any kind of penalty. And it made it really hard for Axis players to be able to combat this. But at least now, if Allied players do this, they're eating into their population cap. They'll also be lowering their manpower reserve, so that they're not just building these mortar pits without any kind of negative side to it. Because everything should have a drawback, right? Shouldn't just get win-win all the time. So this is the Jeep. The Dingo and the Jeep are having their side armor slightly reduced to make these units more vulnerable to flank attacks. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I always thought like maybe the truck, the Jeep, I felt like was okay. The Dingo I've always been a bit skeptical of. I've always felt it's getting too strong early game. So it's got a 0.25 nerf to its armor, side armor. I think that's okay. We'll see how that affects it. Maybe get more likely to get penned and receive damage from small arms fire on the flanks. Then we have the M3 Armoured Personnel Carrier. So fortified position will now cost manpower to make, as it is less efficient to constantly spawn one when off cooldown. So forward position recharge has been reduced, so it's no longer 3 minutes, it's 2 minutes. And now it costs 50 manpower. So I think, yeah, previously it was free. That was the other problem with the mortar pit. You build the fortified position, you convert it to a mortar pit. So now it'll nerf this kind of play, which is good. Right, the M8 Greyhound. The Greyhound is a potent light vehicle able to tackle all targets at its timings with strong veterancy abilities and the speed to disengage from danger. We want to keep its general power, but are giving the unit some adjustments to its cost and bringing its target size in line with other heavier light vehicles. We are also moved most of the firing time in the weapons reload to prevent the Greyhound from firing faster when switching targets. So 5 fuel more. Reload time's increased. Fire aim time is reduced. And target size increased, making it easy to hit, probably with small arms like Panzerschrecks and things like that as well. Okay, so this is a nerf to the Greyhound. Interesting. Okay. It's okay. Yeah, Greyhound did feel like maybe it was slightly overperforming for its cost. The Weasel, we're giving the Weasel some slight adjustments to better reflect its initial value and make its first rank of veterancy more impactful. So Vet 1 now gains a +7 vision. I would have to compare that now to the Jeep's vision to see how, like, is it now a viable thing to use a Weasel and keep it alive to late game, just to act like a nice vision platform for spotting things, because that's cool. The +7 vision, it might be significant, so we'll see. It's also 20 manpower cheaper as well. Okay. Captains. In the 1v1, the captain represents a major power spike, having enough firepower to make a significant impact in the early game that allows US forces too much of a tempo advantage. To reduce the impact of the early captain, we are making the light machine gun cost munitions so it competes with other munitions options. So it's now 30 seconds to build a captain, but you also now must buy its M1919 light machine gun for 50 munitions. Yeah, I think that is a good choice. That machine gun would shred light vehicles like the 250 or the motorcycle, things like that. So, and to have it for free was pretty damn strong. And I feel like Americans already have quite a lot of munitions anyway, and they don't have to buy their first bar with munitions. So I think this is a good change. I like that. How much do you miss? We're kind of almost halfway through the patch notes. If you do miss the patch notes, guys, I will be making this a video you can watch on YouTube later. So let's go on to the 50 cal heavy machine gun. It's now cheaper. It's now 50 munitions cheaper to upgrade a normal 30 cal machine gun to a 50 cal from heavy weapons. Paratrooper squad. Paratrooper squad. The variant of the paratrooper squad was lackluster compared to every other unit capable of receiving bazookas. To encourage their use, we are giving the squad an additional bazooka when upgraded, making them a dedicated AT squad than a hybrid unit. Ooh, that's cool. 20 more munitions, though, for the upgrade, but you get 3 bazookas. That's cool. Remember, paratroopers do more damage with the bazookas anyway, because they're like an elite squad. So that's cool. Yeah, when I'm thinking about it, you don't really see people make that many paratrooper squads, right? So this is kind of cool. I like this change a lot, actually. Armored battle group. Veteran crews. The command point cost has gone from 1 to 2. Veteran crews is receiving an increase in command point cost to reduce the armored battle group's ability to have multiple picks unlocked in the early game. And recovery vehicle has been made slightly cheaper. Yeah, I did think 4 was an extreme cost for a recovery vehicle, so I like that change. I'm also liking the veteran crews because you'd be able to get like Vet 1 vehicles out incredibly quickly. Like you'd have the Greyhound Vet 1 straight away, and that would give it a nice boost. I think if you went for veteran crews or whatever, so I think that's a good idea. The Scott, the M8 Scots. This is the mortar carriage vehicle. We are giving high explosive rounds of the M8 ability to hit an additional model in the squad to bring this unit more in line with artillery units in terms of damage output. Standard HE auto fire and barrage attack model damage limit range from 3 to 4. And it also comes out slightly sooner because the command point has been reduced from 3 to 2. Interesting. We might see this spammed. This could be quite strong again. I remember a while ago people used to spam this a lot. It was a difficult thing for Axis to deal with. And now it's going to be even more potent and coming out earlier. So we'll see how that compares. How that shapes up to be in the patch and the meta later on. Right, anyway. War Machine, we are slightly changing all the manpower reduction bonuses in the game to tone down some of their power. Manpower reduction bonus from 25 to 20%. It seems like they're doing this across the board from 25 to 20% in the manpower changes. They're extremely like they want to give less manpower available across the board for people. Thing. Right. Yeah, do we think... Yeah, I think that's interesting. Okay, more machines. So your vehicles are not going to be as cheaper. Okay. Well, on to special weapons. Special operations marked target now reveals an area of 35 meters around the target while the loiter is active. That's interesting because you either pick special operation. Wait, you already have the flare available in this battle group. You've now given them another way to gain vision for an already strong battle group that has the whiz bang. What do we think about that? I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that when this commander already has a flare. And this is not mutually exclusive between the flare. Oh, changes to the whiz bang. Here we go. The whiz bang is too potent when it is not tech locked, especially in similar game modes, allowing the US forces the ability to double down on infantry and light vehicles while still getting eventual access to artillery and even a medium tank. Yeah, exactly. I've been pointing that out in my last video. Command point cost has also been increased to compensate for the recent changes to make the final tier structure of all factions. Can no longer be called in. Hell yes. Must be built from the tank depot. Right, that's huge. Good. Forces allied players now to spend that bigger chunk of manpower and big chunk of fuel to get tier 4 out. Like, don't get that edge. Because not only was the whiz bang so strong, they basically got an extra vehicle because they didn't need to tack up to tank depot. So they had the extra vehicle advantage over like the Axis players kind of thing. So this is good. Production costs on command point costs increased from 0 to 2. Correcting issue with the unit's reverse speed was faster at 6 than its forward speed. So actually, I didn't even realize this, but apparently it was faster reversing than going forward. But that seems to be the only changes. I don't think that goes enough. I don't think there's enough to fix the issue with the whiz bang, personally. I still think the issue with this vehicle is that it has the ability to just jettison the launcher and get out of trouble straight away, and the fact that it takes 5 shots from a Panzer IV to kill. It's so hard to kill a whiz bang. So the main issues that I have with this vehicle haven't been addressed, sadly. But at least it's one step to nerfing them a little bit. Don't you get the extra 2 CPs anyway from building tank depot? You do, yeah. It used to be 5 command points to be able to cool it on as well. So it needs, it needs something else. I think, unfortunately, the whiz bang. This is, it's a step in the right direction, but it needed another nerf. I think. I'm afraid the whiz bang. Partisan battle group. Several adjustments for the battle group are being made to give it an easier play against the Partisan battle group while making some of their features less forgiving. We want to retain the uniqueness of this mechanic, but in a skilled player's hands on certain maps, this battle group became incredibly difficult to deal with. Tunnel network. So the recharge time has gone up 25, so it's 10 seconds longer now. So that will mean, guys, that you will not want to just keep your guys stuck in base waiting for their turn to be able to push through the tunnel system, because they'll be sitting there for ages. Because I already feel like when my units are sat in the tunnel system waiting for my guys to come forward. So I guess only every so often can you throw a unit through the tunnel system as well. The OSS coordination, this is the forward retreat option for the tunnels. And resistance fire retreat when in garrison. So now triggers the tunnel network cooldown. Oh shit! So when you retreat your partisans from a garrison, it will trigger it. So that means you can no longer then push another squad through the tunnel system because you've used it for this ability. So that is another big nerf to this. Units will retreat normally rather than be transported to the tunnel network if given a retreat command in garrisons while the network is on recharge. So this is gonna make Parsons players really pay attention to when they're using this. And this is just anywhere. And this is just, I feel like this is just not garrisons as well. I mean, this is and resistance fires when in garrisons, but is this just period? So whenever a squad retreats through the tunnel system, it will trigger the cooldown? We'll have to test it, because I'm not entirely sure of that wording there. But if that is the case, that is a humongous nerf to Partisans. So we'll have to test it. Partisan resistant fighters are now 20 manpower more. The Molotovs take a little bit longer to throw as well, so that's good because they were very strong. Molotov assault area of effect radius has been reduced as well, so that's a nerf to the Molotovs. The burn damage has been reduced as well. It costs a bit more, so that's another nerf. Ambush accuracy and scatter debuff from 40 to 30. And the anti-tank rifle they get is also taking a bit longer to fire as well. Okay. So big nerfs there to the resistance fighters. Though there is no mention here of the ambush accuracy being removed from them while in buildings, right? They still seem to be able to apply that debuff continuously while in a building, because I thought that was a bug, but that hasn't been changed in the patch notes or mentioned in the patch notes, so maybe that is intended, which I think is very strong for Partisan still. So again, we'll just have to double check that. I'll probably need to write these things down, guys, actually, for things to test out. So yeah. And now also the forward retreat on the tunnel system now costs an extra command point. Auto build tunnel recharge bonus reduced from 120 seconds to 60 seconds. So it's now just takes 2 minutes to recharge to be able to auto build the tunnel. That's fine, I think. The medical caches has been decreased from 2 to 1. Yeah, I never used the medical caches, to be honest. So they've tried to make it more appealing for other players to pick it because they're making it cheaper in terms of command points. The spy network costs an extra command point now, and also 20 more munitions. It is pretty powerful, that. So I guess that's okay. Then the forward headquarters for the Parsons. The garrison rate of fire bonus always requires an active forward headquarters to be on the field before its effects can occur. The garrison rate of fire bonus is reduced from 25 to 20. Fixed issue with the garrison rate of fire bonus ability effective infantry units in vehicle holds as well. Okay. Interesting. That's what I'm thinking. Vehicle holds. That's making me think about maybe if you're playing, someone's gone heavy weapons. They've got the open top half track, and then they put a squad inside it, and the garrison's buffing those guys up. The forward HQ's buffing those guys up while inside that kind of vehicle from another allied player. To be honest, I didn't really pick the forward headquarters too much because I like the saboteurs more, but there's a little nerf there. And this is the big one, right? Underground detonation. The moving fuse has now an additional audio cue. Thank fuck for that. That plays and intensifies for the opponent as it approaches its destination. All access players, rejoice! Whee! There we go. Right, so they did it. The V1 was broken. They then added an better audio signature for it. And they've now just done the exact same thing with the tunnel bomb. So good. Glad to hear that they have realised that it was a problem and have addressed it. They've also increased its cost by 50 munitions, which I think is fine because it does do some serious damage for its cost, you know. So I think that is fine, to be honest. Right. So yeah, some good overall changes, I think, to the Partisans. They do seem to be significantly nerfed, but have they been over nerfed? Time will tell. Why does my video title say !Japan? Because I'm advertising my Japan content channels, if you're interested, Tony. I have a separate YouTube channel and TikTok channel for my Japan content, if you guys are interested in checking it out. Right. Wehrmacht, hold down. Hold down and mobilize and fortify are being adjusted to provide greater benefits to fixed casemate vehicles that are unable to rotate when in this mode. Furthermore, we're giving the Stug an exception when in hold down to increase its range due to the limitations imposed on the vehicle. Ooh. Reload and cooldown bonuses to overall attack speed. Casemate units gain 10 range when in hold down, rather than +5, and it applies the Stug G. Increases the cone of fire for fixed gun casemate vehicles by 10 and weapon traverse by 5. Nice. That's good. Good changes there. I like that because they already have, right? Because I already kind of like in my recent patch note wish list, kind of addressed the issue with all these casemates that Wehrmacht have, right? And they have some serious problems because of this, right? This goes to some steps to buffing those casemates up so they are more viable in a match, which is good. I still want to see a Panzer 38T or a Puma to give them that flexibility to be able to chase. This doesn't mean that these units, there's no change to allowing these units to be better at chasing, enemy units. But this is some way to help the Wehrmacht player specifically with this, which is a good change. Ken Crad, The tripwire flare time build time is reduced to 7.5 to 5. I'm actually surprised they haven't decided to reduce its range, the vision it gets, by just a little bit because of how potent it is and for how cheap it is as well. So that's interesting. I wonder if they'll ever change the Kettenkrad's vision because it is incredibly strong. Okay. Jaegers. With the removal of camouflage, we can now allow the Jaegers to gain increased attack speed for their Panzerschrecks. So they now get a 50% overall attack speed bonus when they are Vet 2 with a Shrek. Okay, cool. I feel like Jaeger Shreks are a bit crap, so that's kind of good. And also because the Greyhound's got an increased target size as well from 16 to 18, Jaeger's going to have an easier time maybe chasing down Greyhounds as well, potentially. Right, the Stug G assault gun. The range penalty in point blank blast was too restrictive, resulting in situations where the vehicle would struggle to engage targets. So they've increased the point blank blast range from 15 to 20. That's good. And it now displays a reticule when active, so it allows the allied players to realize, oh shit, point blank is activated. I now need to run away and get away from it because that point blank blast rate ability is very effective. That's good. Good changes. Nebelwerfer team. The Nebelwerfer is having its veterancy ability updated to a high explosive rocket barrage that trades out flame damage over time for increased blast radius and power. While white phosphorus could be useful, it overlapped too much with the standard barrage in terms of how damage was dealt. Yeah, because it's kind of similar. There's again damage over time. Both of those abilities did damage over time, kind of thing. We have also toned down the Nebelwerfer's anti-vehicle damage to prevent it from one-shotting units like the Bishop, as its primary target should be infantry, team weapons, and defense. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's 50% less potent against vehicles. That's a huge nerf there. But they've got now a new ability, High Explosive Rocket Barrage. Replaces White Phosphorus Barrage. Has increased blast radius and damage over standard rockets, but does not leave damage over time flame patches. And it costs munitions to use. Now I'm going to test this to see if this will... You can fire this off. Will it, will you be able to get this off and then have a quicker normal barrage as well? How much more damage this ability does? I'm curious to test. Yeah, we've got to test the Nebelwerfer out. That sounds interesting. Increased blast radius and damage. Cool. Brumbar. Being an expensive anti-infantry unit, the Brumbar could struggle to engage units designed to counter it, such as handheld AT squads, due to short range and fixed weapon that force it to expose its weaker sides when squads are evenly spaced out. Even a little spaced out. Furthermore, we have revamped the veterancy of this unit to be significantly more impactful. So it's got an extra 5 range. That's huge. Nice for the Brumbar. And then we've got veterancy 1 increases rotation rate. Vet 2 gets rate of fire bonus. Better weapon scatter actually does more damage and fires faster. Gets a chunk of extra health. More frontal armor, which is cool. 50 frontal armor. Ooh, that's cool. More likely maybe to bounce anti-tank, rounds and things like that from the front. So you can maybe be a bit more aggressive pushing in from the front with it and lead the assault potentially. And a little bit more attack speed as well. Cool. Brumbars might be good, man. Just thinking how we could maybe then get an 8-rad in conjunction with this, or Command Panzer 4. This would further buff up its fire rate, things like that as well, which would be cool. Gotta do some, yeah, that'd be nice. Right, then we have 2 centimeter flak in place. Accuracy has increased on that. The vision range has gone up by as well, so it sees a bit further, and it can now be salvaged. The PAC anti-tank gun and the LG-40 recorderless rifle. The change is to prevent immediately toggling between modes of these units. The toggle on and off time from 5 seconds to 15. Right, so yeah, you're now punished for carelessly toggling on and off camouflage. That's good. There's a cooldown on it now, a bit more longer of a cooldown. Right, artillery officer. Target supervision bonus increased from 100 to 150. And the fire rate bonus from targeted supervision now affects overall attack speed. And he's 30 manpower cheaper, so this is from coastals. 50 extra fire rate bonus. Does that mean our beaches are going to be freaking disgusting now? Bam. That's interesting. And what about you can do it on can you do it on Nebelwerfers as well? Can you supervise a Nebelwerfer to fire fast? Again, we'll have to test. That sounds cool. Yeah, interesting. Was this needed? I wasn't expecting this to be a change, but that is very significant. 50% extra? Damn. Right, heavy gunnery. The following changes is to improve the suppression of heavy gunnery for late game vehicles, as the prior version required vehicles to have a pin tool to get suppression off. The P4, the King Tiger, their coaxial machine guns, and the whole suppression increased. So that's cool. So it's not just the pin tool, it's their coaxial and hull guns also do some bit of suppression now as well to help. So that might make Terror a bit more tempting to go for now. And then changes the King Tiger. We are reducing some of the penalties associated with the King Tiger and speeding up reloading by bringing it closer in line with heavy tanks. So they've made it slightly cheaper in manpower. It's actually quite significantly cheaper in manpower, yeah. From 1,040 to 910, matches other heavy tanks, and the fuel penalty has gone down from 50 to 25. I still feel like they should just scrap this entirely, but at least it's a buff because they removed it a little bit. And the reload speed has gone up by a little bit as well, so it'll be firing slightly faster. Okay, so the King Tiger did need a buff, and this is a buff to the King Tiger, so this is nice. Does it go enough? We'll have to see. Infantry reserves, manpower reduction from 25 to 20%. So that's another battle group ability there. That's been nerfed. Seems to be the whole thing across the board, that manpower reduction bonus from 25 to 20% of those abilities. Last Dance is the new Wehrmacht battle group that was introduced in November. The Nebelwerfer Overwatch, center of the target zone, now immediately drops flares upon activation to give a warning to enemies. That's cool. I like that a lot. That's pretty damn good. Because beforehand, you would see the circle, but it wouldn't you wouldn't immediately realize it was an off map being used on you. Maybe you thought it was something else potentially. So that's a small change, but nice. The Borg one. Okay, here we go. This needed a buff. Rockets will now always attempt to scatter behind the initial target zone rather than equally distributed front and back. This should increase the chances the rockets scatter into the target when they are directly in the center of the ability. And they've also reduced the veterancy requirements, which is another thing that I mentioned in my video. So that's great. So yeah, hopefully this is buff to the Borg Guard. I still feel like there was only the other change I wanted it to see was the rockets doing slight damage to infantry. But 2 of the 3 changes I mentioned have been, are featured in this patch, so that's good. So I'm glad to see that it has received a buff. We'll be testing out after we do go through these notes. But it's something, it's something. Immobilize and fortify, hold down. Increase the cone of fire for fixed gun mates by 10 and weapon traverse by 5. Cool. So that's going to buff up martyrs and things like that. British forces, right, onto the Brits. Team weapon training. The price increase better reflects the power this upgrade gives to all team weapons. The fuel and cross has gone from 20 to 25, so 5 extra fuel. It's not a huge nerf, but it's a little bit of a nerf. So there we go. The field infirmary, though, that has been made cheaper. So they get so the fuel that they would have spent normally on the field infirmary can then just go into the team weapon training anyway, and you'd pretty much be getting the field infirmary out anyway, generally when you're playing, right? So this is nice. And so you're saving yourself an extra 25 manpower, so that's cool. But the previous cost was too high when compared with the US Forces Trios, and it was also covered for casualties. Cool. Royal Engineers are going to be able to vet up faster. Significant changes to their veterancy there, so they'll be vetting up quicker. They're already one of the strongest early game units in the game, so that's interesting. I'm not sure that change was really needed, but okay. I wouldn't say it's a major issue. Infantry sections. The infantry section is having its build time sped up to match other mainline infantry units. Welcome to the stream, guys. Just tune in. Just going through the patch notes. Their rate of fire bonus have also been updated to now affect all rate of fire stats. This helps their basic weapons and AT rifles scale better with veterancy. We've slightly reduced their veterancy 2 bonuses, however, to prevent a major DPS increase, as the unit already gets an extra bonus at that level. They're 5 seconds faster to build. Rate of fire bonuses now use overall attack speed for Vet 2 and 3. This increases rate of fire. So overall this sounds like they're getting a buff, and this looks like a nerf, but it's just offsetting this other change. So they're not over buffed. So okay, interesting. So I would say overall that's a buff to sections. Right, Dingo. Yeah, so we saw the Dingo there. Side armor's gone down by 0.25, making it easier to do damage if you flank it well, which is good. Dingo, again, I always feel like the Dingo is one of the strongest vehicles of the game, so it's punishing over-aggressive Dingo play, which is good. The Vickers, focused gunnery, is having the Vintage bonus reduced, as it could be put too potent in certain situations where the Vickers could fully utilize the additional range, engage targets without receiving return fire or requiring a true spotter. Right. So now it doesn't spot for itself. You need another unit to spot for it. Which I think is fine because, yeah, I think that was kind of crazy because it did give it some serious range bonus. This is the Polston, the AA version of the CMP truck. So what they've done, we've done a slight shuffling of this unit's weapon range to make the unit a little bit more effective on the move and better able to kite threats like AT grenades. So they've given it just a straight range increase, and the deployed range has been reduced by 5. Okay. So, yeah, that'll make it so that it'll be able to kite more effectively. Yeah, this is a good buff to the CMP. So overall, even when it's up, it has the same max range kind of thing, but it's just better at dealing units that are closer, or rather, a little bit further away so it can kite and do damage. So this is a nice little change for CMP truck. We might see more people make this actually now because of that, actually. But, previously it was really hard to get it to fight Shreks and things like that with AT rifles and kite well because of its terrible range without being set up. So good change there for that truck. Okay, now on to the 4.2 heavy inch mortar team. The heavy mortar is receiving some similar change to the pack cards and the IG to increase its effectiveness and scaling. The airburst barrage has been giving wider scatter, as this ability was too effective at destroying other team weapons due to the large area blast covered. Removed acceleration from the heavy mortar team. This makes the unit faster to move around the battlefield. Heavy mortar barrage scatters increased. Damage those increased slightly, and its vets up slightly faster. Okay, so overall I would say a buff to it. The Black Prince seems to be having an extra 100 health increase. Significant health increase allowed to survive long on the battlefield against all threats. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm not a fan of going for a Black Prince because it's so slow, so make it tankier to offset the fact that it's so slow and vulnerable. I think that's okay. The Centaur, HE range increase an extra 5, so that's kind of like similar to what the like the Brumbar kind of thing. The Centaur's HE range allowing the unit to better attacking infantry squads due to its role as a late game anti-infantry tank. Also revamped the unit's veterancy to be much more impactful. Ooh, here we go. So 20 more rotation fires. Yeah, this is pretty much mirroring the Brumbear, right? Is cool. Right, Bofors anti-air emplacements. We are improving the anti-aircraft in places by increasing the anti-infantry firepower and vision, allowing them to control an area within weapon range. We're also allowing these emplacements to be salvaged for resources as they taper off mid to late game, being primarily anti-light weapons, and not all battle groups have aircraft call-ins. So more accuracy. It seems to be similar to what the 2 centimeter flak that the Luftwaffe had for Wehrmacht. Get an accuracy increase, same thing there. The range has gone up, and they can be exactly the same changes there as well. What the 2 centimeter got. The Warcry as well. Warcry is being changed. This is from the Indian Artillery Battle Group. Warcry is being changed to overall attack speed to allow the ability to affect a greater variety of weapons. Rifle weapons were not receiving any major benefit, as time between shots was held back by other stats not related to reload or cooldown. Warcry now affects overall attack speed rather than just reload and cooldown. Speeds at rate of fire. So this is a nice buff there, which is pretty sick. I've been recently trying out Warcry and generally only seeing benefits on units that had like Thompsons and things like that. But this will buff up sections as well now properly because sections have rifles. So this is cool. The BL 5.5 there is making it longer to vet up now. Very considerable changes there. Huge changes. It's doubling the veterancy requirements at 2 and 3 pretty much. So it's going to take a lot longer to vet up. Okay. And volunteer infantry again from the Indian artillery has also had that 25 to 20% manpower reduction reduced. The Firefly from the new Polish cavalry, we are slightly increasing the DPS of the Firefly to better reflect its current cost as a premium tank destroyer. We're also increasing the range of its sabot ability, allowing the Firefly to expend munitions to either get the first shot in combat or finish off a retreating vehicle. So they've increased its range by an additional 5. Is that now going to be more similar to like the Firefly of Co 2 with its kind of tulip rockets? And they've also sped up its reload speed. So it's so I think this is good. Most people could not really go for a Firefly because it wasn't really worth going. Because it was either you choose this or you choose Decapitation Strike, and most people would want to go for Decapitation Strike because it was a good munition sink. And yeah, I don't think the Firefly was really worth picking, to be honest, when you could just get a 17-pounder out instead. So this is maybe this might make people pick the Firefly, but we'll see. 45 range is like the standard range of an anti-tank gun. Still needs more range, maybe. We'll test it. We'll see. Maybe we can outrange. Maybe we could use the sabot range. Well, no, this is not just the tulip rockets. This is so you'd have to pick this and not go for the land mattress. I don't know. I feel like I'd prefer the land matches over the sabot rounds still. I don't see, because if you go for land matches, it makes you not want to go for the Firefly because the sabot rounds aren't available for you there. So I don't know, man. Don't know. Right, onto the DAK. Right. The AT rifle also has a ready aim time increase from a quarter of so it's gone up by a quarter of a second. Nerf their tungsten rounds have been nerfed again. So they brought it back, does damage. Last patch they brought it back, so it did damage, and now they've reduced the damage by 5%. Panzerjägers and Assault Grenadier half-track call-ins now require fire support and mechanized company. So you can't just call them in straight away, you have to tech up. To be honest, I'd always tech up anyway, to be honest, by the time I'd be able to even call these on. So this doesn't make any change to my gameplay, the way I play, to be fair, as a DAK player. I'm normally always getting fire support to get the flat feeling out anyway. So, yeah, I think that's fine, I guess. Panzer Pioneers, 3 manpower mortar reinforced, 2 efficient apparently. Trade out long range, very cost effective. Okay. Right. Right, now we're on to the Crash Shooter Microsoft team. We are bringing back the reverse of the Crash. Oh, they're bringing it back to make it easy to micro the unit in infantry engagements without needing to rotate the entire vehicle. Can now reverse at a slower rate of 4.5. Top forward speed is 13. Note the unit always prefers to drive forward and only reverses when given a manual reversal. I wonder why. I thought they were dead set on making sure this never came back because it was just not a feature on that motorcycle. But now they've just decided to give it back. I mean, that's good. I like it because I kind of like them being on a reverse of the motorcycle, but yeah, it's cool. Hey, Frank, how you doing? Panzer Grenadier Squad. We are lowering the experience requirements of the Afrika Korps Panzer Grenadiers to bring them in line with other infantry, and also lowering the cost of their light machine gun to make it easier to arm multiple squads. So, PGs, Palm Grenadiers, are vetting up slightly faster. And their MG34 is 10 munition squad. Okay, tiny buffs. Not a huge buff, but it's something. Okay. The 259 tracking speed's increased, so that should make it quicker to change from target to target. So I assume that's a buff to the 259, which is good. The mortar half-track's got its health increased by 40. I think that's a good thing because the mortar half-track, I definitely felt like it was way too squishy. It would die like one anti-tank gun shot and things like that. So maybe I'll be able to survive against an anti-tank gun round now and being able to get away a little bit easier. 8 rad. Right. The following changes brings the target size of the unit in line with other heavy armored cars and prevents the player from immediately turning its ability on and off without consequence. So it's now 15 seconds by looks of it to toggling on and off. And also, like the Greyhound, it's now gone from 16 to 18, making it easier to hit with small arms and things like that as well on AT guns. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I like the fact that they've done the command mode toggling because there should be some kind of punishment. So it's interesting, guys, that we're seeing these kind of changes here. Like we're seeing like the camouflage on the pack gun, they've been punished for toggling on and off. Same thing for the command mode, but they haven't added in a change to the whiz bang, right? Where it's like if they get caught out in the open, they can still just instant the launcher instantly and immediately have a tank that can shoot. I still think that needs to happen with the whiz bang because it's too strong for that kind of vehicle. So, but yeah. The elephant. We are making the engine burnout less punishing if the elephant is kept above a certain threshold, making retreating, moving around the battlefield easier without the engine always needing repairs afterwards. Speed bonus during engine burnout has increased from 30 to 40. Engine burnout causes crew shock if health is above 50%. After the health damage occurs from the ability when the buff ends. I don't even know why it has this, guys. Who is making elephants? First, okay, so this is, I don't know, man. Elephant period is just a pointless thing to go for at the moment. Why would you get an elephant when you can have an 88 and a tiger out, right? It just makes no sense spending so much resources into an elephant that has, like, its range should be like some of the best. It should like be the best range tank destroyer in the game, right? Probably should about maybe give it the same range of an 88 or even slightly better to make up for the fact that it is a dedicated anti-tank vehicle with fixed turret, as its case may, right? Or give it lockdown or something as well to benefit, to give it extra that kind of extra range. This kind of engine burnout thing, I think, is a silly thing. I don't like this. What my playlist? I'm just trying to get a different playlist on here real quick, guys. But yeah, I don't yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like the elephant is just it needs an overhaul. Period. You know, because you're literally like you're skipping going for a tiger to go for an elephant, and it's just like why doesn't make sense. Like I've been seeing the elephant like in some games recently, and it's just it can't chase anything. It and even its range, it feels like it's got terrible range. It couldn't even shoot something. It's not like the elephant from KO2, right? The elephant in KO2 was much better. It had that range advantage, and that's what made it really good. But here, it just doesn't have that, so it needs a buff. This doesn't help it enough, in my opinion. So the elephant, unfortunately, missed the mark here in this patch. Propaganda war. The following change prevents certain out of combat events from occurring when hit by propaganda war, and units should reach their pinned retreat threshold faster. Units hit by the ability now count as being in combat. That's good because that means they're not going to be able to get healing while benefiting from healing from vehicles and things like that. And suppression penalty against suppressed targets reduced from 50 to 25%. Okay, cool. Nice. Right, then on to Armoured Support Battle Group. So this is Rapid Salvage. Used to be one command point you could get out very early. Now 3. I think that's okay. Actually, I know it's a very strong ability. I mean, to be honest, even right in the beginning of an early game, there isn't too much to salvage anyway. And you probably should be punished if you lose your 250 or, your vehicles, your early vehicles, so you wouldn't be able to get up, be able to salvage them that quickly kind of thing. So I think that's okay. And superior fire drills, bonus damage reduced from 100 to 50%. So that's a big nerf there for superior fire drills. Panzerstorm is being adjusted to be unable to bypass the engine damage caused by mines or snares. In exchange, ability is being made cheaper. We want to make vehicle assaults still vulnerable to weapons designed to slow them. It's 20 manpower, 20 munitions cheaper. No longer prevents engine damage, prevents crew shot criticals, and recharge time has gone up by 40. There's one kind of unique thing about Panzerstorm that allowed you maybe to just yeet in with a bunch of tanks and avoid the mines and stuff. You still like take damage from hitting on the mines. So I don't know. I'm not sure I like that change actually, because Panzerstorm made this kind of a unique feature for this battle group, and removing it now just makes it a boring battle group in my eyes. There was no other ability in the game that allowed you to bypass engine criticals with a special ability like this. So I don't know. Maybe they could have gone halfway here and just made it so that they would just get a slow if they hit a mine rather than an engine crit. Yeah, they've gone the whole hog and done the whole thing and done the full nerf on this rather than going halfway, which I don't agree with. Okay. Kriegsmarine battle group. Supply reserves now generates an additional random crate. Oh, that's cool. Need to remind myself which is supply reserve. So additional random crate. Is that when you decap points? If you decap an enemy point, you'd get the 2. Or that's supply interdiction, isn't it? I need to remind myself what supply reserves is, but that's good. The glide bomb has been made cheaper by 25 munitions, but the naval intervention's gone up by 20. I think that's a good change, actually. The naval intervention did hit a lot harder, and the Fritz glide bomb only got decrews on stuff. So yeah, I think that's a good change. And then we've got bug fixes. That's pretty much it then. So art animation, flags on some maps, audio. Fixed a case where Partisan tunnels sometimes use the incorrect cooldown value. Does this mean they fixed the veteran squads, reducing the time it takes for the tunnels to cool down? Because if you put in a veteran C2 rifle squad, right, the cooldown would be 8 seconds, not 15. And I'm wondering if that's what the change is there. Okay, Demai and Ferric is saying that is the case. Okay, cool. That's what it means there. Right. So I thought because we read above it was now 25 seconds for Partisan for any unit to go through a tunnel system. I thought that 25 seconds was introduced to make up for the fact of the Vet 2 rifles being able to get through the tunnel system quicker. But with this fix as well, this is potentially maybe an over nerf now to the Partisan tunnel system. Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to test it. We'll see if it does make sense. But I don't know. I'm still a bit concerned about it. But yeah, I did think, this is, maybe it was an over nerf for 25 seconds. 15 was quite long. Maybe 20 seconds rather than 25. Yeah, well, it can always be adjusted later on down the line, but I do worry it's an over nerf. Right, Wehrmacht fixed an issue where objects could be built inside a vehicle model. Fixed issue where the tooltips, yes. Regulation. The kit and crab will be revealed when camouflage. Fixed issue with 70-pounder. Experience requirements were set to thingy. Okay. Polish Lancers can no longer distance team weapon crew. Fixed issue when Panzer did not gain first strike ambush bonuses. Alright, so that's buffs to Panzer because of bug fixing. So this is going to make espionage better with them then. Fixed issue with forward retreat could upgrade turret. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and then the Kriegsmarine. There was a bug with Kriegsmarine specifically. When you upgrade SCGs, it wouldn't show the symbol above their head that they had the upgrade. And that caught me out in a game once before, because I thought, oh, they only had one SCG, and then I realized, oh shit, my dingo is dying very quickly because there's 4 SCGs, not the one, because I didn't see the upgrade symbol. All right, I mean, overall though, I would say, based on just reading the patch notes, guys, I think that they're very good changes. I think, I think I'll give it a solid 8 or 8.5 out of 10 for the majority of those changes. I think maybe some slight over nerfs here and there, but overall, step in the right direction for sure. So guys, that's the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did and want more content, check out over here and over here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, make sure to click the button down here. Catch you in the next video, guys. Take care. I'll see you soon.